Governor Calvo, today, 8 years in office, coming to the end of your term. How are you feeling?
Actually, I'm feeling a sense of relief in terms of some of the responsibilities that have been, being a part of being a governor for the past 8 years. Those responsibilities now are about to be turned over to Governor-elect Leon Guerrero. So there's a sense of calm, of relief, but a little bit too bittersweet in terms of the great people I worked with, in terms of all these government agencies in Adelup, even working with the legislature. And most importantly, visiting and meeting all the people of Guam in my capacity of governor, as a governor. So I'm going to miss a little bit of that, and that's what makes it bittersweet. And also, making decisions that I believe are consequential in improving the quality of life for the people in Guam. Once I step out, that decision making and how it may assist in improving the quality of life of people, that is now given through the democratic process to a new governor. So relief, looking forward to my new life, spending more time with the family and going back to the private sector, but also a little, again, there's a finality and not being able to work with the great people that I work with and not serving this great people of Guam.
A lot of those major decisions made right here in your office, in these chambers, at this very desk, this seat right here.
Oh no! By the way, I might as well show you what I never showed anybody. This has always been in the back of my...
Right behind your name.
My nameplate. Pray. And a lot of decisions I made, I got some smart people around me, looked at all areas in terms of the pros and cons of any major decision. And after that, did a little silent prayer, and then just emptied myself. And lots of times the answer came back. So I think it's an important thing for anyone in a position of responsibility and decision making, that you get all the facts and you listen from all sides, and then you use the intellect that the good Lord and your parents had given you in a good education. But before making that decision, that silent moment of meditation and prayer that will allow you to open yourself, and 9 times out of 10, you do that, good things will happen.
Okay, a lot of key players and staff that helped get you and make things happen for this island. Should we get going to see?
Sure. It's amazing when I look back at 8 years, it's how fast it went.
Right.
But then I think about some of the real difficult times, and it usually came in whether it's a North Korea incident, whether it was that first year crisis where we had the $300 million deficit. It appeared that the seconds were going in slow motion.
Really?
So in some really difficult times, it sure seems that time slows down. And then, of course, in the times of joy, it goes too fast. Oh, hey, is Mark Calvo here?
Let me check, sir.
Better tell Mark I'm going to come and surprise him. Oh, what the heck, yeah.
So that's always part of your routine when action needs to be done.
Obviously, I always go, in fact, many times it's important for me to, I like to surprise people. I think I've surprised the legislature a few times walking down.
Of course.
So my style is, and even when I was in the private sector, I'd go visit customers, I'd go visit our vendors, I'd visit all parts of the plant, production, warehouse. It's going around and see how things are going from their perspective at their work site. So obviously the chief of staff, this man is the gatekeeper. This is the fella that kind of had that little silent whisper and say, Gov.
It's good to see you. Good morning.
What I'm doing is I'm kind of showing them, my man. I'm showing these folks around at KWAM, and we wanted to do a little something different. The places I've gone to in my capacity as a governor within Adelup, and I was telling him why. And obviously the chief of staff is so important. The governor goes walking around everywhere. And me, I'm naturally a guy with a smile, a guy who's affable in nature, to friend and foe, and every demographic in between. And that's just my personality. But being a governor, tough decisions need to be made. And a lot of times, because they're so consequential, there's a bunch of folks that are going to like it and a bunch of folks that aren't. And making tough decisions sometimes is not a happy business. So while you have a happy governor, You always got to have a chief of staff. And I've noticed there's a direct correlation between the happier the governor is and the more, how would you say, jovial in personality. There's a direct correlation, converse, with a chief of staff that has to really enforce the will and the decision of the governor.
Keep him level-headed, pretty much.
Level-headed, and also, like I said, when I've agreed to something with a smile, obviously, when that decision is made and is enacted, there may not be a smile that will entail. So, like I said,
And an awful lot of work on the other side.
and remember,
This point forward.
yeah, when I want something done, and the decision I make, obviously a lot of thought. I mentioned to you thought, bringing in a bunch of people to, and then once I make a decision, but once I'm, like I said, the prayer. But then once I make a decision, the decision's made. Now, the chief of staff is a guy that I keep abreast with to make sure that it is effectuated.
Right.
And that's why he spends a lot of time
To get things done.
Let's share it there.
I was gonna ask the gov too. I was like, I remember. Some
And
of
what
his
better
first
guy
photos, right?
than a than a battery commander? In his time in the military, he's in charge of artillery,
Right.
and it was including low-yield nuclear warheads or
Yes, sir.
nuclear artillery. So, what better guy to get things done than the guy that once headed an artillery unit that shot out nuclear weapons?
Sure.
You got things done, man.
What was the
Hey,
biggest?
Hua.
What was the biggest challenge that you guys had to tackle? There's a lot from the hospital when it came to tax refunds, when it came to other issues on the island. What was the biggest thing you felt like you had to get to and then came out on top?
You can imagine running the government, as difficult as it is, but I believe it was doing that, trying to do that successfully from the governor's vision and strategic, policy and direction, and then responding to the people's, concerns for transparency and resolving issues that might come up through media like yourselves,
Yeah.
which need to be answered. And they weren't distractions; they needed to be done, but made the job a lot tougher.
And,
So.
and also a bunch of things I'm thinking with him, and I'm always saying, why hasn't it been done? There's processes. And when a decision's made, and whether it's procurement, whether it's the decision made in agencies working collaboratively, there is, you got to have some sort of a legal memorandum of understanding, a memorandum of agreement. You got to have a procurement that takes place where it should be done the right way. And the bureaucracy sometimes in government, even though the governor says this, want to get it done, to make sure that everything's done right, it's got to pass the muster of legality and process. And the bureaucratic process can be long. And sometimes it could be something as simple as somebody went to maternity leave, and because that person held a pivotal role in part of the process, everything gets stymied. It could be certain things out of our control. It's at the Attorney General's office, and for us, it's a top priority for this document to be certified and signed by the Attorney General. But the Attorney General has to deal with so many other things, and it may be not a top priority for the Attorney General. So these are the kind of things that makes the bureaucracy a little bit. That's why this guy, you need someone who's constantly kind of
Whittling away.
Yeah.
And the other thing, sometimes it's about, really, it's how things are disseminated to the public, and everything we've done, we believe we've done right. But as a result of, remember, we're a two-party system, checks and balances, sometimes a falsehood can come out. It's totally off. Mm-hmm. And we'd have to get everybody focused on telling the truth by laying out the facts. I don't know how much time
When you get those facts.
Oh man, and that's sometimes a danger about just the type of information that goes out. And with the social media, talk show, some reporters to give some individual or group a sounding board. It could be so off and so wrong, but it goes out, and then you spend so much time and effort having to correct the misinformation or falsehood that came out. That's been something also.
That's it.
It's been
Things that come along with the
It's-
job.
it's part of the job.
unfortunately, But you guys have handled it.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, good job and good luck
Thanks,
to you,
Nick.
Mark, with
Well, it's
working
a
with the
pleasure working
transition
with you
team.
and the team.
All right.
Let me go. Now I'm going to take him to the small conference room.
All right, sir.
Oh no, the large conference room where we had a lot of our major issues.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And then of course the small conference room, which is used more widely.
Sir.
Okay. Okay, we'll go over here. What a beautiful day.
It is. You get to see the security rooster when he's out back.
Oh, we'll meet the rooster, huh? He's gonna miss us. We better tell the transition team to feed him.
Yes, sir.
I don't want that rooster, man. He's a very healthy rooster. Can I walk this whole
So
way?
here, go ahead.
Boy, I tell you, but 8 years as a governor, you know, I just think about it. A lot of my kids were here at home, either in middle school or in high school. Now I've got my baby girl who's a junior in college. And I think back not only just my 8 years as governor, but you know, I started in 1998 running for senator. And my baby girl, I've got 6 kids. She's a junior in college now. She just got back a few days ago for the winter break. Watch out going down there. But she was born the year I ran for senator. So I've been in public office, you know, for nearly 20 years. So it's time for me to retire, at least from public service. Yeah, that's a long time.
This is the door you always.
Yeah, come in here, and usually there's a room full of people. This was our large conference room, and a lot of times for our cabinet meetings, I've done a couple of things as governor. 8 years as governor, depending on the year, I have a monthly cabinet meeting. Sometimes I'll go to the agencies, because like I said, I always want to see how things are going at the agency. So we go to have our cabinet meetings at a different agency. So all our directors will see and experience the workload and responsibilities that are affecting a particular agency. But most of the cabinet meetings were held here. And this is where we got everybody together, making sure that, I'm not a great guitar player. In fact, I'm not a guitar player at all.
Okay.
Some people say I'm a pretty good singer. Some people say I'm pretty bad. My wife thinks I'm a bad singer.
You do your best.
But really, being a governor, it's obviously you provide the music sheets, but then you are the symphony conductor. And it's important that everybody is following the music. And once a month, we would have our cabinet meetings, and this is where we had all the leadership together of government in Guam under my area of the responsibility, ensuring that, number one, how we were moving forward in key policy initiatives, getting updates from every one of them on issues both positive and things that needed to be resolved, and how we can, and then of course the feedback on how we can move forward.
Is there anything you wish you had more time to get to? Now you had 8 years, 20 years.
Well, your work is never done.
It really isn't.
Never done. You know, it's up to now. The work of no one ever. The only place is perfect is heaven, and we'll never get to heaven down here. But you know, differing administrations came in at a particular time in history in Guam, and of course, for me, I came in 2010, 11, and I'm leaving now 2018, 19. There were issues then. There are still issues now. But I do believe in these 8 years, many of the issues that we had, they had either resolution or there's been advancement.
Like with the hospital we were talking about.
Certain things like the hospital. If I can say one thing, if we resolved one thing, even though I didn't get what I would have liked, a permanent funding source, because of what was appropriated this year, $30 million in appropriations, there finally was an understanding by the policy-making body that it was woefully subsidized. It was subsidized at a woefully low level. Being very clear to them because of its mandates, both local and federal, that they weren't providing it enough resources. And if it wasn't given enough resources, it would fail. So, though I would have liked to have seen the permanent funding in perpetuity, at least for this year, the legislature finally recognized that there was this funding gap that needed to be filled, and they filled it for this year. I'm hopeful with the next governor and the next legislature, they can then now ensure that there is a continuous, guaranteed funding source to make up for the gap. Now that gap could be lessened. but in order for it to get lessened, it needs the cooperation of the federal government. We need to get some changes in the Medicare reimbursement rates where we're not reimbursed at 50 cents on the dollar. We gotta find ways to get subsidization, particularly for MIP, which handles the compact citizens. So where can the federal government help us in their treaty making process that could give us additional subsidies to make up for the immigrants who make use of the hospital? The good news, I just sent a letter to Department of Interior because they asked, as they work on the negotiations with the FAS states, particularly FSM, that's going to be one of the areas that needs to be addressed. On the Medicare reimbursements, we've already gotten reimbursed at a higher level, about $6 million. There's another $12 million anticipated in the next week or so, maybe in the next month or so. So at least if we can now, the next administration, get at least those amounts and then work towards even further more equity in really being able to get fully reimbursed for the true costs. So we've made some progress in those areas.
Yeah, and a lot for the incoming administration to tackle and get to.
Yeah.
where
By the
we are
way,
next.
this place, aside from just internal stuff, this place was where I think the world saw this place.
Proclamation signings and
North Korea.
North Korea.
Man, I remember sitting here, and that whole area was filled, including the sites. Say we had about 100 plus media folks
So we're locked.
from every part of the world, and it would appear. I just came from a trip from New York, to work with final goodbyes and report to credit rating agencies and bondholders and the underwriting banks.
Right.
And the taxi cab driver, the guy that drove us, says, "Hey, I remember you. I saw you on TV." So the guy remembers watching the North Korean
threat.
So
As many do.
Guam got, whether it's the notoriety or fame, as a result of North Korea. And a lot of this stuff happened here. And that's something.
Putting Guam on the map during your time.
They put us in the map.
Well, at least we knew we were 110% safe. Okay.
Well, that was on the tourism. We're almost recovered.
Right. We are. I'm glad to hear that.
Actually,
from the Guam Visitors
Japanese
Bureau.
is looking good.
Yes.
2 months in a row, 25% up. So that was the cabinet area. Now, this was where the heart of decision making was in Adelu, our small conference room. Twice a week, I held the meetings in here, a small conference room. This was all my chief appointees in terms of Adelu cabinet level staff. And also brought in directors or heads of agencies that we believe needed further discussion and coordination. How do you turn this light on here? This is a small conference room. So we had 2 meetings a week here. It was on Mondays and on Thursdays morning.
Continue today, Doug.
Huh?
We should continue. We've not stopped them.
Yeah.
We've kept them going.
So what we've done, so here is obviously Mondays, there's been a weekend. It's an opportunity for the feedback on the issues that needed to be resolved from the previous week. And also for my introduction, as well as key staff members, introduction of other issues that needed to be dealt with. So here, and then of course Thursday, as we are closing the week, Thursday was very important too as well, as we look towards closing the week, areas where we're at, what areas where decisions would be made and for finality, and how would we be planning moving forward for the next week, and the weekend of the next week.
Yeah.
So this area, spent a lot of time here and a lot of issues. And then of course, a lot of these meetings we have with off-island visitors, and there's a bigger set of visitors than can fit in my office. They come in over here, and we'd have our meetings, and of course, picture taking
With all the
sessions.
late night discussions, hours and hours of meetings and talks back and forth, what are you most proud of?
I think we were a team. One of the things about being a big government, well, depending on what size is relative, right? But for a government where under my purview there's about 7,500 employees, total Gov Guam 11,900, close to 12,000 employees. it's important to for all the limbs of the body to be working in unison. And so I think for me, because of our limited resources, starting out with a $300 million deficit and shortages in staff and equipment and a lot of things in different agencies, we worked as a team. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I liken myself more as a symphony conductor, because it's making sure that everybody is moving along coordinated. We weren't perfect, but I think we were pretty good, and with the coordination from Adelup, to all government of Guam and our stakeholders, I think we did leave the island of Guam in better shape than when we came in.
The government's still going, still
operating.
Going. People still have...
No $300 million deficit.
Right.
And I guarantee to the next governor, we won't have a $10 million negative cash balance in the back when I leave.
Wonderful.
There'll be some money there. In fact, there's still some money coming in.
Nice.
So yeah, this very critical area.
All right.
Let me now take you, like I said, since we were
What's
in
back here?
a lot of fiscal issues. Watch out there. To a very important office, and again, what really laid the way towards stability of government in terms of services and a growing economy, decisions made here. This is the office of my Chief Fiscal Policy Advisor, Bernie Artero. Here's some of the, she's not there? Okay, but I'm still gonna go to her office. These are folks, this guy, of course, Lester, has been a part of my administration since I was a senator. And now with my administration, and oh, Macy, this young lady, she's been a part of, again, the government of Guam for so long, but she's been one of those folks that have been critical, both of them have been critical in our fiscal team towards a lot of the accomplishments that have happened in this administration in terms of reducing our deficit, ensuring that there's enough financial resources given to certain agencies so that they can provide better services to the people of Guam. So this is kind of like the thoroughfare. This guy, this young lady, they used to come over to this office here. Is it locked?
Yes, sir.
Oh no, it's locked. She's not here?
No, sir. She had an appointment.
Okay.
Yeah.
But maybe we could get another time. I really want you, because really,
Okay.
there's a lot of things that were question marks that we didn't know until you inhabit the office. Mm-hmm. We did know that, obviously, that the government of Guam for several years, because I was a Ways and Means chair, that they were running at deficits, and the deficits were so great that it accumulated to a point where we're at 300-some million. And I think, last you guys remember, I think our general fund at the time was 650 million.
Yes.
So 650. So you imagine coming in and it's a $300+ million deficit. You see the magnitude of how we are in a red negative position. We knew it, but we didn't know exactly how we didn't know the details. And I, for the life of me, and maybe Bernie also was shocked, finding out we owed about close to 300 million in tax refunds owed and earned income tax credit. We never knew that too. We never knew it was that magnitude of tax refunds and earned income tax credits owed. So we were confronted with this, because even I thought about it. There was an old controller, I remember a fellow named Joe Rivera, that was working with GovGuam for years. He works in the family business now, but he said, Governor, and this was based on original general fund operations of revenues of about 500 million, 500 plus. He was saying, anytime you get over $100 million deficit, then you are in big trouble in terms of cash flow and viability. So there was a part of me saying, how the heck did we get to $300 million deficit and the government hasn't imploded yet? Obviously, it was because we weren't paying tax refunds. So that was a revelation. So we needed to solve that issue both on stability as well as just making good on old debts, which were the tax refunds. And it was this fiscal team that came together. They solved the issue. And like I said, now GovGuam is in a stable rate condition. You could take a look at the credit rating agencies. So many of our areas where we were graded, let's say on our BPT, whether some of our autonomous agencies, they're all experiencing the highest ratings ever. And some of them are at A, and some of them are at triple B.
Right.
So, you know, and for a lot of them are historic. So, you know, aside from all the stuff being talked in talk show radio by folks that don't have the qualifications other than they're partisan, they spew out all these lies. The truth of the matter is if you talk to folks who know, and of course it would be the bondholders, it would be the credit rating agencies, it would be the underwriting banks, it would be our vendors. Everybody knows we're in the best shape we've been in a long, long time. It's because
Well,
these folks.
Good job, guys,
Thank you.
and good luck.
Thank you. God bless you all. Oh, you got it. But you know, if you do get to her office, I know she's not in today.
Yeah, it's no
But
worries.
there's a whiteboard, and it was always filled with a bunch of numbers. Especially when our economists came in, I didn't know all those squiggly things. You know, some of the prevailing, what is that, PVs? Anyway, part of the calculate prevailing economic variables. So as you start looking at projecting revenues for the future, you needed these smart guys that do all these mathematical things that you know, since I was never very good at it, I just hired them. And they did good. Thank you, folks. Merry Christmas, everybody. Huh?
So,
Then, should we go to communications?
We can go to
Oh,
communications
yeah.
if you want, sir.
Oh, man. I got to go. Sandy doesn't know, huh? Poor Sandy.
No, I believe she's in the meeting.
Okay. Anyway, legal team. Sometimes I sneak in, not too much, because usually they come to my office. But my legal team's over here. Sandy, before her, Arthur Clark. So brilliant, great lawyers, but having to do with the legal issues, make sure that everything we're doing is kosher. So she was great. Deputy Chief of Staff. Is Rose here? Rose Ramsey, come on in here, Rose. I'm gonna get you on TV. Okay, real quick, just come up here. Rose Ramsey was my admiral. Well, she was my, no, what do you call it? Not admiral.
General?
She was my marshal. Yeah, I guess for the Europeans.
You promoted me. to
Marshal.
admiral.
You know, usually when the order is done by the chief of staff to get things done, but there needs to be the general on ground that moves the army and gets the army going, and sometimes has to enforce the will. And this beautiful smile, as beautiful it is, had another side to it. That when the whip needed to be cracked, and you have people like Mark Calvo and this young lady, everything came to order. So this lady's been with me from the beginning, and she helped me in the campaign. She did a great job in getting us 58 out of 58.
2014.
2014. I mean, we won every precinct. And but just as well as she did it in running our campaign organization, I threw her in here as a deputy. And deputy chiefs is really doing a lot of that line operational stuff. And she
Yeah.
kicked butt. Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas, God. And of course, I have an excellent support
This staff here.
And there's more. We had a procurement. We also had our HR. So my procurement officers are they're hiding. They're
These guys. And they did it all with a smile.
yes.
Always worked with a smile. So anyway, my man, this my young man here too, been with me from the beginning, and I want to thank him. So I tell this guy, continue to work for public service. This guy will be a great senator. He's a Guamanian that has done is great for our administration, has been great for the community. I may be retiring from public office, but you're younger than me, right? Yeah, he's younger, much younger than me. You have no gray hair.
That's it.
But he has had a long future ahead of him in certain terms of public service. So
Thank you, Governor.
God bless you,
Thank
my
you.
friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor.
You guys.
thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we going? I'm going to. Sorry to surprise you. Communicate. Is it okay to go to communication? Oh, of course. Hey, this place.
So whenever we needed to know something and something quick, where you were, how to get a hold of you, these are the people we were bothering.
Hey,
You're always.
and I tell you, this young lady, whenever I turned on the radio and I heard something,
Yeah.
or read the newspaper, something, or watched television, something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah! So she could get a
It was my
call.
pleasure, guys.
She could get a call at all times of the day,
She does.
or night, or
did.
morning.
Right?
And Oya says, "What? I'm going to look into this."
Yeah.
Or she was already aware of it and was working on it. But I tell you, my communication staff have done a great job, and I'm so proud of her and all of them because I go back to politics. We've made mistakes, and sometimes it's important, to show that we fixed them, or own up to them. But I can also tell you, there's a lot of stuff that happened was just outright falsehoods, and that's part of being, in a political system environment. But it wasted so much time and energy. But it was these folks, for a lot of the stuff that were coming out as a part of politics that were falsehoods, to correct it. I mean, think about it. Everything that we've pushed for our successes, the tax refund, the bond,
Until middle school.
until on middle school, Tejan High School, the opening of a museum, the tearing down of a department administration building, subsidizing a hospital, heck, cutting down a tree. I mean, things.
Safety of the people.
Yeah, the Hay Plan and pay raises, which we got everywhere. Police officers got a 40% increase. The pay raises, all those things were good in nature, but there always was a negative spin. And in the negative spin, that's where a lot of stuff, so much had to be dealt with by our communications team and straightened out. So FESPAC, I mean, I could go on and on. If you talk to any of the folks that have participated in FESPAC for decades, Guam held the most successful FESPAC ever. Mm-hmm. Yet to the naysayers, it was terrible. It was a boondoggle. We wasted so much money. People weren't fed their water, so we're trying to have people dehydrate and die of stroke. I mean, it was crazy stuff going on, and it was these guys in communications that had to really be at the forefront.
Keep things focused.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right.
Where to next?
Okay, come on, we'll wrap it up.
Yes, Governor, you have your National Guard.
Oh yeah, what time is that at?
That's at 11:30.
What time is it now?
It's 11:05.
Okay, one last one. I'll show you. I'm going to go to the cannon.
Okay. So while we make our way there, Gov, I did want to also ask you, what's the legacy that you want the people of Guam to remember you by?
Worked from day one to the last day. Worked my best for the people of Guam. And I left the island in better shape, and I'm talking the government and the island, than when it was when I came in.
I remember in the first 4 years, there was a lot of talk about the tax refunds.
Yeah.
Of course, getting paid out. Big thing for many here on the island.
Also, I think hopefully my general attitude, it's about optimism for the future.
Yeah.
You're seeing a lot of, it's all about believing in the future. So in a more philosophical sense, I think it was about confidence in our people on our island, that we can go, we could reach our greatest heights. Have you noticed all the young entrepreneurs? All the haters that call on the radio obviously aren't doing their work. But those young entrepreneurs that are working are making a lot of money. Just take a look at all those new restaurants. Take a look at those new food canteen trucks that are going out. A bunch of young people are that have self-confidence,
You're really
have a
starting to
dream.
see that boom because of them.
Yeah.
The passion, the drive, and
Yeah, it's to me. Sometimes it's just like I said. Sometimes we've got to understand. There's always going to be obstructions,
Yeah.
But you have to continue to strive forward, and a belief in yourself. And I think, hopefully, I've instilled that in a lot of our young business folks. Watch out when you're going here. I'm going to show you why I'm over here. Well, you know what? I'm going to enjoy going back into a private life and spending more time with my family. But sometimes, in the best and worst of times, I'd come out here and pull out a cigar and smoke it. I am going to miss this view. So this was an area, usually sometimes, like I said, when deep thought, and it was either in the midst of a major issue or crisis, or after a major victory, I'd be out over here, pull out hope I'm not politically correct, pull out a cigar and light it up and thank the good Lord I'm living in paradise.
right.
So I'm going to miss this place right here. Or I can still come back, maybe not as governor, but I'll come back here and enjoy a cigar. I have to ask the governor's permission. I don't know if I can smoke here. Okay.
I'm sure she'd be allowed. Final message to the people of Guam.
To the people of Guam, it's indeed been an honor serving you, the people of Guam. The thousands of people I've met and served as governor, it just reinforces my view that this is a great people living in a great island. And again, the stars are the limit. The skies are the limit for the potential for our people. I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. God bless the people of Guam. I love you all.
Thank you, Gov. Good
Right.
luck.
Take care. Merry